Well, Zoom is telling us stuff.
That's going off of your computer. That's coming off your computer though.
Oh, that was.
Hello, I just got a notification asking myself to unmute. Did y'all want me to test my mic?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
It's coming through here, though.
Through there then, all right.
Yeah, did you turn your volume up a little bit, Larry, so it's. That's fine.
Oh, I did. I think I did.
Well, right there, or.
I got sound all the way up.
Okay.
Okay.
And then let me put this mic all the way up. Okay. All right. So for the record, we stopped recording due to technical issues, and we've reconvened. We're now recording again at 5:10. We're on public communication. So try it again, Diana.
Hello, this is Diana testing my microphone.
Okay, we hear you.
She may not be able to hear us.
No, she muted again.
So she just. Yeah, that's what she has anything to say.
Yeah, do you have something you'd like to say as part of public communications, Diana?
Oh, no, I don't have anything to say at the moment, but yeah, thank you for working with the technical difficulties and making this meeting available over Zoom.
Helping us, we wouldn't have known until the end. So we got to work around, so we're doing that. Okay.
Hey, Mr. Clark.
Yes, Mr. Clark, if you want to raise your hand, if you want to contribute in the public session, or we will continue.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
He's up, no, he's.
Go.
His head's up.
Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for endeavoring through the wonders of Zoom. Just wanted to introduce myself quickly. Timothy Clark with the Nature Conservancy of Connecticut. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I had one more item from public communications, which was, I think I can just share this. Waste crisis. Where is that? Oh, come on. This Zoom stuff's got me all screwed up. So what happened to? There we go. Oh, not that one. And I have to give me 1 second. I got to bring it back up. I had everything teed up, unfortunately. It's a waste management. There it goes. Okay, so let me go back to Zoom, share. All right, this was shared by
Oh, yeah.
Dave, right? So I don't know if you guys got a copy of this, but it had a lot of interesting information
It does.
that I thought worthwhile. So did you send this to everybody?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so everybody got it. So we're obviously gonna come back to this, one of the priority items that we identified as in the PLCD, but this kind of gives a lot of background. So I think it's a useful resource or background resource to use. So that's there, and I would recommend you look at that if you have not seen it. Next item, let me stop sharing. Next item is the Connecticut College Project. There's a February 13th checkpoint coming up. Is that
Yes, I actually I have information. Jen sent me a text.
Okay,
So basically, the two things that no one's working on are social media and pollinators. The things they want to do, the Earth Day Fair, our Conservation Commission booth materials, the Wolfbrook invasives, Baker's Cove management plan, and then one that was added, native plant availability. This was based on that presentation in the library. And I told Jen afterward, hey, this is something that people had, because I was thinking just in terms of, them offering, I guess Arboretum every year has a native plant sale. But I suggested that maybe they'd want to try to do more. And so she ended up offering it as a project
Right.
for the students. And so people are interested in researching that.
so are those 5 candidates or those?
It looks like those are the ones that they're going to be working on, and they have to write about their plan by Wednesday. So by Wednesday, we'll have plans.
Okay,
And then next Monday, she wants us to attend the class to talk about, it. We can either do Zoom or in person. I'll probably go in person.
I'll go in person.
okay, so remember, we can't have,
We can have 3.
we'd have 3.
Subcommittee. I think I had agreed
So
already.
here's at
Yeah.
least 2 or more of the things, so definitely.
So you got Earth Day in the booth?
Birthday in the booth, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's you got?
Is there anything in the booth 1?
No, they're
No.
two different-
Two different things, but she said same sponsors.
overlap with them, but they're 2 different projects.
All right,
I think
One
that's-
is helping to create, set up and help staff or whatever, the Earth Day event. The other one is to create that rotating booth for us.
all right,
Now, of course, we'll use our booth at the event, but
yeah, different thing. So Wolfbrook and Baker Cove, both of those are kind of stewardship items.
Tom, are you interested in trying to attend, or should we pass you by on this one?
Well, this is, I'm kind of already committed.
Okay.
Because I've got another, at the Nautilus, I'm already over there.
That's fine,
Yeah.
because I'll be at the meeting, so we can find out what they're doing and bring you in with that.
All right, you're Ms. Stewardship, so that
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yep.
And that leaves native plant availability,
Which is also Kristen.
which is also Kristen. Is that
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
okay?
so the 2 of us could probably handle it.
I think we
for
can
now.
handle it, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, so,
okay, so that's February 13th. And so therefore, in the March meeting, we'll put that on the agenda for feedback from the February 13th meeting,
yes.
right? Okay,
And there'll probably be other meetings in between them with specific people that are interested.
yeah, we can kind of,
And
if
you,
they,
and you work there, right?
Yes.
So I mean, I'm pretty free, so if it's 10 o'clock works better for all the kids and you or whatever.
Okay, well, their class is at 1:15,
Yeah.
Supposed to do this, the class.
so,
Also, I could put that.
so for this first time, it's attending the class.
Okay.
And then after that,
Good
it'll be
information to have.
setting up times to meet with
I don't know what
specific,
room it is, but-
I need to find out, no, stop typing what I'm saying.
Cool.
I guess that-
come on, Michelle, we got to keep this going.
All right, so I think that's all we need to do right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
Is it
great.
Kristen and I need to go to class, and I'll tell Jen that we're gonna be in person. Okay,
right, and if you need something from us before March 9th, 6th, 9th, whenever that date is,
The next
then, yeah, the next meeting, then let us know. Yeah. Okay, next item of business was the Conservation Commission Working Database. Just to kind of refresh everybody, working with the town, we kind of worked out a process now where Tom maintains what we're calling the Conservation Commission Working Database for the town of Groton. That then becomes the input source document, which then, based upon approval with staff, then gets transmitted to IT, who then update the town's formal database. Now, one of the things that I was,
Inventory database.
the inventory database. One of the things that I was suggesting, I had a little bit of exchange with Noah, was, is this really now a Conservation Commission viewer? Or is this really a town of Groton inventory viewer? And when you look at what's in there, I mean, I want to ask you guys, I mean, about which I'm sure you can't wait, right? Okay, Tom, go ahead.
Well, no, I think it's a premature question because we don't know what, Noah has the information that includes all of the old, the current viewer that's out there right now. He's updating that to include this additional information that we discussed at our last
Yeah.
commission meeting, which also supports the vacant, the looking at
Right,
all
the
the
code,
properties
yep.
that are not open space. Okay, we've added that inventory, that to the inventory, but Noah's evaluating that right now. And he's gonna come back and tell us, hopefully by next month, whether he's gonna be able to make those additional layers.
Okay.
That's how I would portray it.
Okay, so assuming that's successful, directionally, do you think it's a good idea to say this really ought to be promoted from a naming point of view?
I'd say it's premature. Let's worry about it. Once we know
Okay,
what Noah's capable of
other
doing.
comments.
I feel like this is something that Tom in particular, I think Michelle, took a lot of time, like, this is something that we created, so I think we should hang on to the naming of it.
Okay, well, that was the answer in my mind, but
Give credit where credit's due, right?
any other comments?
I don't have a strong opinion on this one.
No, I agree to hang on to it.
All right, so we
Can't
got
do it.
2 to hang on, 1 to wait, and 2 no comments. All right, I think what we'll do is, let's see what Noah comes back with. I agree, we don't have to make a decision today, but think about it. I mean,
Right, no,
yeah.
if it. I would be tending to lean with keeping as a from the Conservation Commission inventory, because we have under the ABC manual charter things that we're supposed to be doing is maintaining this inventory. And we've expanded the inventory to ensure that we don't miss anything, and so it's appropriate to leave it as is the conservation
All right.
inventory. We
Okay,
can expand the
so we
ABC.
have 3. That's a powerful subcommittee. Oh, damn, man, 4. Gee.
And the Conservation Commission, we're part of the town of Groton anyway, so the town still has the umbrella anyway.
Okay. Good enough.
You just don't want to miss anything.
Meanwhile, this is what Tom submitted. I don't know if you want to spend a second or two. This is the working database of all towns, 11323.
This goes back to what was submitted to the, in response to the question from the reuse committee, Larry serves on. We developed, and that's what's on the last page of 66, 67, 68, 69 of your
Right.
handout.
And it's here. I just sorted by vacant,
Right,
so you can see the,
The tree was.
so, as far as we took a look at, I thought we kind of talked about this last time in regard to what was accepted by you were gonna talk about what was accepted by the reuse committee as far as how.
yeah, I'll talk about
They
it.
accepted all the information we provided to the reuse commission after we discussed that. We said we're gonna update to this working inventory. So that's where we basically stand right now. It's gone to the reuse commission. They're using it. Noah, it went to Noah to update the inventory. He's working on it. He's got a lot of other things on it. He didn't make it to, in a couple of weeks he's had. And the other thing he's also still working on is making sure that to see how he can involve the easements in here also. That's another additional layer. So you'd have you currently have 14 layers of open space categorization and stuff. Then he would be having another layer for easements, and then another layer for vacant property, and another layer for town facilities property that's in use for the town facility on it, but not open space. Those
Thank
would
you.
be the additional layers that he's trying to look at. How do I put those in there if he's capable of doing it? And so he's evaluating how do I go do that.
So I had a brief exchange with Noah, and I invited him to the our March meeting for status and update, and he feels he might
Have a solution.
have a solution to that at that point in time. So I thought that'd be good. And it's also good to have him here and recognize him. He's doing a lot of work on the back end in supporting this. Now, in relation to that, as Tom mentioned, let me stop share there and share again. It's in the handout. Man, I wish I could read this. Acrobat February agenda. There it is. Okay. So in your agenda is based upon the work that you just saw on Tom's work and alignment with the staff. These are several charts going to the town council presentation from the TOP. Right, at some point, I think it's now scheduled for March. But it has a lot of interesting information in there about what the town owns, what's used and unused, and this was a discussion, I can't think of the right words, a discussion that we had at the TOP about what's there. And I think I related earlier that open space is not unused, open space is used. So that was accepted, and that's why it's in here that way. But unused is in two categories, is with buildings and which are totally vacant. When you look at that, I think there's out of the 54 parcels, there's only 11 parcels greater than 5 acres. And it comprises 162 of the 189. So, you know, there's not a lot of parcels to really look at. So hopefully we'll get pragmatic. And that's the next push, is to not make this big involved process, but to have an outline of what we would like in a RFP that then the staff would be responsible for implementing, rather than providing a prescriptive document of some sort. So anyway, that's the next thing going through the TOP committee. And I won't read this as it's in your handout, or it's in the handout. And then, yeah, 66. And then these are the properties that you saw in the spreadsheet, just broke them out so it could be more readable about the property that's there. Okay. So that's that.
Well, the one question I would have, just as from a philosophical perspective, we see that the town is tomorrow night holding a special thing of what for the Cutler School over here to turn that into parks, essentially, potentially preserving that as additional land. Should we, as a conservation commission, be making recommendations on these other unused parcels here that we see potential for some type of level of conservation, such as, what kind of pops out at my mind is this Mary Morrison School, because if we go in early, there's a large, there's like 36 acres there. Okay, the school building obviously isn't taking up all 36 acres. There's a lot of area that abuts Avalonia property, it abuts the federal government property that is basically all potentially could be conserved per se. Should we, as a conservation commission, taking a look at this, trying to get a leap to some degree, be putting ourselves up front relative to subdividing? So that's one of the things we've seen in the past, is these schools have large parcels on them, but we'll just sell the whole thing, was the attitude of
Versus saying there ought to be a conservation easement on a portion of it that makes sense.
Right in place, right from the get-go, and being proactive in putting the easements in place.
I think that's a great idea.
Yep, no, I support that.
Especially if there's a connection with
Yep.
Greenbelt.
Right.
Yeah,
Right? I
So-
think
They
to
can
be
still,
proactive
if
would
they
be
want to
great.
monetize a portion of it, they can still have.
We can monetize it with the conservation easement. So that's the whole thing.
Yeah, you can still, you're right, that's why I said easement, not necessarily,
Yeah.
because if you look at some of these, they're not treed, there's not,
Some of them are, yeah.
yeah, it's not really what I would call wooded areas per se. So I wouldn't do, I mean, certainly we have the 11, or do you want to start with the schools? I mean, what's the?
Well, I don't know. What I'll do is I will voluntarily take an action item and present a recommendations at next month's meeting as far as on what the Conservation Action Commission should potentially go to the town manager, which says, hey, these are the parcels that are in unused category that we feel have for these reasons have conservation value, and would be recommending that the town establish some type of process for a conservation easement on. The problem we have right now is who would be the holder of those easements? Because the town can't hold a conservation easement on a property it owns. It has one parcel that way already, because it was, they held it for somebody else that went into foreclosure and they now own it, but they haven't corrected that. as opposed to what they did on Wolfbrook, where they saw that they were going to be gaining that parcel, buying it, and they already held an easement on it, and they rescinded that
Right,
easement,
so that the state, yeah,
so the state could put their easement on it. So the question is, that we need to do some development as far as who would be the holder of these potential conservation easements. We need to do that in parallel with this recommendations.
well, is that a question for staff to say, from a legal point of view, is there a recommended best practice, whether you make it a requirement in an RFP? Or, that then the developer or subsequent owners have the easement, or it's better to have the town have the easement, but provide access to,
Fish, it's kind of like
I-
which comes first.
yeah, I don't know.
It's
That's-
sure
that-
more.
I don't think it's us to make that decision. I think that's more of a staff
But we can
recommendation.
make a recommendation.
No, I don't, recommendation on the easement itself, but the, who's the holder of the easement?
Well, that's a timing issue. So do you want it now, before you put the RFP out there, or you want to have it in front of the RFP for them to do? it to
I'm
keep it?
back to getting,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm back to the recommendation from staff. All right. This I would want on the March, is that fair? March meeting or?
yeah.
or-
No, I can
Okay,
have it done in a month.
okay. Staff. Easement.
Skipping around, but we got 13 marked off now because you did the total.
So-
I know, no, I was trying to do these in a rational order. So 4.3,
There was a lot.
stewardship manual pilot. Unfortunately, I was that close. But lost that opportunity. However, a couple of ideas popped up as we're going through here. And I think I forwarded one to you, is that I did notice in some other municipalities, and actually, I reminded myself, my own grandson was a student liaison to the Conservation Commission of the town of Barrington. So I fired off a note to Bert about that, and he kind of misunderstood that I wanted him as a commission member. No, that's not the case. So there's a couple of things here that maybe we want to do both. Does it make sense? And this is open on the floor, that says, does it make sense to have a Fitch, I guess it'd be Fitch High Schools, our regional high school, a liaison from the high school for the Conservation Commission, and that could lead to activities of, hey, we need to have a pickup day or cleanup day or something, like that, and get concerns and get them. There's a lot of involvement and interest in high school and college students. I'll get to that in a minute. That I think the interest is there now. I mean, 5 years ago, they go, huh? But now there's a real concern. So let me throw that open to Tom, who has his hand up first.
Well, yours is under the stewardship we're talking now. First off, I'm just trying to.
Well, that's what kind of I thought is.
So under the stewardship, you mentioned Fitch, but we have two other high schools that have environmental conservation programs in place at Brasso Tech
Right.
and also at the Marine Science School.
Okay,
Which is in the city.
okay.
Okay, so you have three high schools in the town.
Well, we could kind of throw it out to the three and see if there's an interest, because it needs to be sponsored by
So
the
Are you
school.
looking at targeting this at the school itself so that they have somebody that they could be sending to us so that we could potentially have three ex officio members type of thing? Is that what you're looking at?
That was my thought, that they could provide feedback in terms of here's what, that demographic is thinking in conservation. And there's projects like we talked about with the Con College, that there's other projects and things that we, get them involved with. As that at a minimum, it would enhance their resumes to a college.
I just don't know if it's within what power that the town manager has
That's
to be able to appoint ex officio members.
not appointing anything. It's again, well, I got this discussion going on
Well,
with
it's about
staff.
what level of authority are you trying to give to this
None.
position?
None,
Okay.
none, no votes, no, it's a liaison. It's they can provide input. It's like just going to the public forum, they can provide input, or if we give them a task, they can report on the task. Right, so I don't think it's a foul of any of the regulations, et cetera, as I read them. So that's one thought.
It's more of a high school point of contact.
Okay,
Yeah.
we were at the eco fair thing. There's this woman, Bonnie Johnson. She's a high school teacher. I forget exactly which, but she's the advisor of the environmental club. So
There you
she'll
go.
probably be at that meeting we're going to tonight, and good chance of it, because she's involved in running the eco fair. So she'd be a person to,
At which school?
well, that's what I can't remember, whether it was Grasso or Fitch, or I don't remember which one, but
What's her name? Which
the name's
one?
Bonnie Johnston,
Oh, I think she's at the Marine.
Marine
Ag
Science.
School,
Okay,
but I
so
think
there's somebody kind of,
Yeah,
Well-
That's like the perfect example of someone to interact with us.
Yeah. I mean, is that, let me ask the question, does that sound like something we would want to pursue before we do anything?
That's a great idea.
I think we should.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't
No
mean,
problem. You know,
Okay.
As long as if it's just a point of contact that we're trying to develop. a
and,
relationship with,
and hand out work
Right.
tasks, right? But again, only that which can be, this is a, clearly a volunteer, except now,
Well, I look at it as kind of an adjunct to the responsibilities that we parceled out before. Like
Yes.
Who's supposed to be contacting Apollonia, who's supposed to be contacting Groton Open Space, who's supposed to be contacting
Yeah, what-
the Groton Long Point
Right.
Conservation.
one of us
Commission,
would be the
so-
interface or the sponsor of that, and so that we provide a single point of contact. All right, so that's one. Second idea following on that is that there's a number of colleges, or a number of, I should say it the other way, there's a number of towns that offer an intern program to the college, who then provides credits for kind of doing the same thing, but at the college level, but with a little bit more, some specific responsibility. So same kind of thing. At the college level, there tends to be a thing of a stipend that goes along with that. It's pretty small. I did, again, reach out and said I would volunteer to fund that as a donation. So that
Okay, real complicated, real quick here.
yeah. No,
but I mean, it's kind of.
no, it's that has nothing to do with the town. They don't, I've done this before with the town. I provided a stipend for something else. But, so that's another thought, and that would be a college or Avery Point or.
Right, and I ran this by Jen, and she definitely is interested in the concept. They also have, and she also talked about contacting the place that works with students that do work. And it's possible that the college will actually pay the student to work with us.
Like work study type of.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Oh, right.
That'd be
So,
cool.
so that's why.
I mean, I had a work study program that got money when I was in
So I
college.
gave,
So-
I sent her response with, you guys can figure out what the details would be, but she's definitely interested in looking into that.
Okay, I'll be the point of contact for that, since we're talking potentially monetary exchange.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I was thinking of is, running the stewardship. I know it's on the task list. I'm not sure what these guys are gonna do, but it's only one semester.
Right,
I'm talking about something that's goes through the total school year. So it's not necessarily, we could have both, I don't know.
right. And again, we will have to figure out what the tasking would be, so, but that
Right.
could be a discussion.
All right, so I'll be more than happy. So I'll, you send a note to me, or you told her and.
I responded, yes, the email that you sent me, I forwarded to her and copied you.
Did I get that?
Yesterday.
Oh, yes. All right, let me check.
Unless it's
Check
allowed in my outbox.
Michelle.
Possible.
Email.
And I do think you're right. Like, you have to have very kind of well thought out tasks and responsibilities for the student. I think the student one is a good idea too, and I think, hearing you all talk, it might be helpful, like Kristen, you had mentioned the fact of that teacher there, like that's a perfect intro into the whatever, environmental club, conservation club, whatever it is, and then it might be an opportunity for one of you to go there and talk about what happens here and the projects that we have or we're trying to line up that we would need volunteer support for and helping get the word out and stuff. So I think they're both good ideas. I think you just have to be.
Yeah, I mean, remember, one of our priorities was community outreach
Absolutely.
and involvement. We said, we added the word involvement.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So
Perfect.
this is kind of fits right into that strategy. So I kind of like that. And I, like I said, my grandson was, and he was happy. I mean, it was very interesting.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, keeping that. keeping me on track, as she says. I told her to do that. But, okay, stewardship management.
Okay.
Wolfbrook update. Now on the Wolfbrook update, let me share where did I do that? That was, the agenda. Hold on. So somewhere in this, that's not it. Nope,
Was
nope.
in the agenda?
No, it wasn't. That's why I was bringing it up.
Yeah, it's up there.
I had to remember, that's so much stuff we had to do. I forgot what the heck I did with it. Share screen, it's in the Word document. Okay. Okay, so Wolfbrook. Okay. So Tom, who I don't know when he has time to do all this stuff, but so Tom went for a walk on Wolfbrook, provided some preliminary trail information.
But what I did was I walked all the way from the Bel Air, all the way up through the open space that for the Mystic Estates, and then on to Wolfbrook, followed up, went past a fire pit and chairs and all this kind of stuff that's out there. Continued up, went across the Fishtown Brook and stuff, and then linked up with another well-established ATV path that's got at least 4 deer stands on it. And then came back out right onto Norlink Ledger Road. And then I went back and cleared it a little bit the next couple days later. So I then that's made briars and stuff because there is some overgrowth, but you can walk it fairly well. It's not marked, but the GPS, I did locate that and I provided that to Noah, so he can add it as he's going out. Because what he does is he takes what I give him, then he brings, so that he knows where he's going, and then brings his high resolution one, and then transfers that. And he goes, walks it.
Which then winds up as part of the trails
Yeah.
maps in the
So
towns, yeah.
there'll be established trail map here. There's also one additional loop that's up there, with another access out onto.
Right. Which kind of leads right into the next topic, which is the town's plan for this. So we bought it collectively. Now we have to maintain it, like take down the deer stands, put up signs that says there's no ATV motorized
You don't do
vehicles.
this on any other property, so what's the difference? So this,
It-
I was saying, in the reality of it, that's part of the stewardship plan. If this is to be designated a dedicated open space. When I talked to, as I mentioned the last meeting, was Mr. Barry from the Parks and Rec, says they haven't made a decision whether they want to go put this in as a town park. Okay, because he's gotten some push, suggestions from town councilors that they ought to be putting a disc golf course out here and renaming it, working with the Nantucket.
I mean, the town only provided a small portion of the funding, the town council.
Yeah, people,
The-
open space people gave all
They
that money.
I personally gave money
I gave
for
money
open space,
for open
not
space.
for this to be a golf course.
Not in planning, this is in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Okay.
So like, and from what I understand is there are a lot of decisions. How is this gonna be used? Right now, Tom's exactly right. There's a lot of ATVs that use that.
Yeah,
So if you
right.
need to get the ATVs out of there, then you have to change things around. Is it gonna be for mountain biking or just hiking? The other piece too is access, specifically parking. So that's another thing that I know Mark is working with Public Works on, of what that would look like, where that would be.
Well,
I think there's still.
no, that's fine, but that was this, like, the question was, what's the plan? I want to make sure we get to a plan. I understand we don't have a plan today,
Yeah, we don't.
but there's a number of issues, et cetera. This is a protected parcel. The town council can't sit there and say, I want to do something. No. Right?
Well,
Eh,
they can, as long as
They
it's
can say
within
whatever they want.
conservation and recreation, it's supposed to be recreation. That is an allowed use by the easement that the state holds on that parcel. So putting a disc golf course.
Oh, disc, frisbee golf.
Frisbee
Yeah.
golf.
Oh, you're not talking about.
Yeah, a golf course.
That's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, that's okay.
That's where I went.
Yeah,
Golf would be
I was
Yeah,
like, how can that
go.
possible.
possibly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there's things that And this is I think it's gonna take a while to get there.
That's, but the plan for the plan, I mean, we want to drive to it, otherwise it'll sit there and nothing happens.
But
Well,
who
Maybe
drives
what
that?
I would suggest is, I know Tom has already had a discussion with Mark, maybe not in March, because we've already added a bunch
Yep.
of stuff there, but maybe in one of the future meetings, April.
I like that.
invite
How
Mark to the
about,
meeting.
Yeah.
how about April? We invite Mark on the Wolfbrook property plans, an update. All right, and I would also ensure that I will get the word out to GOSA, GCA, both provided funding,
Lots of it.
but lots of, I
Lots
know,
of
yeah,
money,
yeah.
yeah.
So I want to make sure that their voices are not only heard, but listened to.
Yeah.
So,
Because that's kind of a precedent to have, I mean, have community members raising large amounts of sums to
Yeah.
give to the town to buy open space. And
Right.
then if they don't buy open space with it, because that could be a really nice gift if you can keep that conduit flowing, but
don't screw it up.
if you bite the
Town
hand.
council.
I don't think they're screwing it up. I don't.
Okay.
I think Tom is very right with everything he said. I think they're proceeding cautiously because there is a lot of interest from all different parties and there's a lot of stuff to do there.
And
And
the
it's-
other thing is that we owe Mr. Berry, I think, is that you gotta recognize that for under our new definition of open space with preserved and protected, the preserved part really relies immensely on what's in the park and regulation that hasn't been updated since 2015, okay? And that we probably should be making a recommendation to him as far as on what should be added and deleted or corrected in the parks and regulation. Regulation has a lot of, don't do this in a park, don't do this in a park, but the bottom of that regulation lists what are the uses for all these different parcels and names them and all this kind of stuff, and it has and everything in it, as far as, so that it says this is gonna be used as a community park, this is a neighborhood park, this is an open space, this is a cemetery, this is, whatever. it
Okay,
is, a
so
golf
let's-
course or a
let's-
golf course or whatever. it
Let's
is.
add that as part of our P O C D 2026. That definition, we had preserve and protect definitions in there. This is part of that definitions.
This is
work
the-
task.
When you get to preserve, this is
Right.
what the state says it has to be designated as a park, and that's the designation that's the mechanism that the town has been using, and that's what we're being consistent with. But we ought, for that April meeting, we should, by that time, we should have that recommendation to them. So what I will take another action item here to work to provide an update at our next meeting so that we can present that
At the
in
April.
advance.
Yeah.
So he has the month of March to look at it and talk to us about what our sort of changes are, so that we have a more fruitful discussion, is having our stuff already on the table to him for review and for. him to
That's
come
fair.
and take-
That's
talk and
fair.
look at.
Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
thanks again, Tom. Okey dokey. Moving right along. That's this one. Okay, that's it. So this is something that did get missed. I sent Ann's thing and it kind of got dropped from the agenda, so I'm going to shove it in here. That Ann has been working on, let me stop sharing. Oh, no, let me not stop sharing. Yeah, let me stop sharing that. So Ann's been working on let me get it up. Why don't you do the intro here while I
Oh.
go find it? All right, I found it.
Looking,
Keep going.
yeah,
Go ahead, keep going.
at open space and social justice issues.
Okay, so that was in the agenda under report of commission, so we're gonna do it now instead of what you're saying, right, Larry?
Yeah,
And Anne has a whole presentation, so what I'll make sure happens for the March.
Yes.
minutes, The agenda packet, that'll actually, she just sent it to us today, which is fine, but none of you had a chance to look at it,
Right,
so.
right.
Okay.
Besides Larry and I, so then I'll make sure I'll actually get it out ahead of time. I'll probably maybe send it tomorrow. And then I'll make it as part of the March agenda packet.
yeah. So my thought here was for Ann to kind of tell us what's in here,
Yep,
for us as a homework assignment to kind of go through it
Yes.
And then we can have a discussion at the March meeting.
That would be great
Um,
because I would like feedback on it. As well. So if you.
Yep. Okay. It's up. It's up.
Next slide.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't you?
Well, you can do it. Okay, just tell me and I'll do it.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm calling this a preliminary review because I am looking for feedback. I do think that what I've captured is a big picture. If you dig deep into what I've done, there's going to be missing pieces and parts. And so I don't think the overall conclusion will change, and I'll go through why I did what I did when we go through. So, oh, that's fine. So let's just go through it. So what I did to understand,
Barry, can you make that any bigger? So we'll
I
have-
know that,
Let me go to,
so I'm really looking at open space.
Yep.
Income and demographics for this.
Just hit the
And-
plus, you can go to the, where we're gonna go back. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay, good. That's better. It's easier
If you
to see.
minimize the panel on the right,
oh, yeah, you got to do that.
the
No, to
left,
the left,
the
just a
left.
minimize.
Oh.
Okay.
Fine, that's good.
So basically what I did was take data from the census, the 2020 census. And distilled it for each of the census tracts. So Groton has 10 census tracts. They're labeled on the left, and the color coding matches the income range color coding that's in the table. And we don't need to go through this, but it basically in this particular table has the information on income and demographics. Okay. And there's more detail in the next few slides. So the next slide.
I
Oh,
think
are
I
you-
did, didn't I?
No.
Oh, I see. Oh,
No,
it doesn't. Then I gotta do page down.
Oh, because this is a PDF.
Yeah,
It's not a, because I wasn't sure it's in Keynote and
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to,
that the next one?
nope. Oh, you skipped a whole bunch.
Oh,
Where are you? Uh-oh,
uh-oh.
what
Huh,
happened?
I don't know. Let me go back to,
Yeah, just use the arrow keys.
yeah, I tried the arrow keys, but
Can you skip them?
I don't know why. Overview,
Two. There you go.
is that the second one?
This is
or-
the third time he's gone to that slide.
No.
Oh, okay, I must have pulled up.
So there's space, there's slides missing in?
Oh, yeah.
No, I had two versions. I was playing with it and I thought I brought up the right one. But let me go back to that and here's,
So are we going through the whole thing right now, or we're gonna get it to read on our own also?
I can just give you the high level and the areas where feedback would be good.
Okay.
Yeah, because then we can absorb it more, maybe if we redo it.
What
uh,
was,
Like when you can go over it with us more broadly, and then we can read it and probably.
yeah, and
Percolate a little more.
You'll need to, yeah, because it's a lot of.
there's a lot
a lot
of, there's a lot of good stuff in there. Let me,
do you want me to pull it up or?
no, I have it again. I was just trying to find out which one. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. So let me plus this up.
Okay,
Okay. So this should be,
There.
okay.
okay.
So there we go.
All right, so this is the track level data with percent minority, and the percent minority is defined on the right. And each track level, you'll see a percentage underneath. So again, I'm not going to go through this in great detail. This is from the DEEP website on environmental justice. You can go to the next slide. There's more detail here, and we might want to come back to this, or you might want to go back when you see some of the data that kind of fell out from this. So I went to the block level. So each census tract also has a number of blocks. And so it's more detailed data, but you can see that some of them have, for example, I'll just point out one, and I'm sorry for the people
I could-
Maybe Larry can zoom
I could-
over what you're pointing at.
7.7028, you can see that it's 45%, but the difference between the two areas is
Very
Right.
different, 70% and 28%. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's the census data at the tract level for income. And income is expressed differently here. It's again, this is from the DEEP website. The other data was from another website. So this is the percent of population living below the 200% federal poverty level. Overall, the town of Groton is 27%. The state of Connecticut is 22%, which
So worse than
thought
average.
I was surprised.
I was, yeah,
And again, I have it down to the track level, block level on the right. Again, we can just skip over this. You'll have time to look at it. The purpose of this slide. So the default map that we're used to looking at is the one on the left. At least that's what I'm used to looking at. But the one on the right just made it easier for me trying to draw in all the census tracts on the map. So use the OpenStreets map. So I just wanted to show them side by side. That's it.
so this is the census
Gonna go
overlap.
fast.
Okay. Okay.
You didn't believe me.
I know,
Okay,
I didn't.
So this is, and again, I tried to stay with dedicated open space as much as possible, but I felt that I couldn't always do that. And you'll see some things that come up, especially in these tracks. And these three tracks are the three tracks that make up the city of Groton. And I didn't, and Mira Estates, for example, I'm assuming that that's a subdivision or no?
Mira Estates is a subdivision. There's 13 acres to the north of it,
Okay,
which abuts the Kalinowski School.
so it's just
to the-
named that,
yeah.
okay.
And that's just, but that's the name of the open space, because that's the guy
Proximity.
gave it to the
Got
city
it.
as opposed to the town.
Okay, so which just brings me to the point that I did not include every last acre of subdivision in this analysis. But here, and again, there are very few open spaces in the city. So Washington Park and Port Griswold are really parks. There's some trails or walking paths around them. So again, each tract, I have a summary and what I put, and I tried to, so if, for example, in 7026, I excluded Avery Point, and it's a school with facilities. I left that out. I did include Pine Island, which is, access is an issue there. So go ahead and go to the next ones. I would say if you see something missing, I did not include, for example, some of the managed open
Could I
space.
just have a quick comment that
Yeah.
might be helpful for me? Is instead of telling me the number of acres, because I have no sense of the size of the tracts, but if you just put the percent on each one for the open space, I think what's going to emerge, I'm guessing. it's like
Percent
a
is
trend.
going to come later.
Okay,
You'll
okay.
see that. And
Gotcha.
actually, is this a slide that you thought would be helpful to have the map on it somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely, because especially when you're looking at the tracks.
I know where they are now, but
Yeah, it's kind of,
let me add that
Yeah.
before you send it out.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
so add map. Okay, so you can just, so basically what I did, just go through, I downloaded the data from Noah's inventory, and it's probably out of date because I had this spreadsheet
It's not
for
true.
what,
It's
yeah.
close enough for what you're doing.
Close enough. So again, these are all, okay, so this is the
you're asking.
That's my question. Okay.
census tract data that's sorted by percent open space. So again, Noah Feldman was very helpful. I did get a little bit of his time. And he provided square miles and acres and that kind of conversion from whatever the census gave us. So you can see this has different data than the other table. It does have income range, median income. The error for that, I put it on because it's large in some cases. The population, the square miles, the population per square mile, which is very different in each of these tracts. up to 4,000, over 4,000 people, and as low as 500 per square mile. The number of acres in each tract, and then the number of acres of open space, percent open space for each tract, and then the population demographics, and also the income. Next. So trying to distill this down was kind of hard, but if you look at the data from the table, there are two main groups. If you cut off percent open space at 11% or less in the census tract, those tracts have a median income of 40 to 109,000, 109,000. People of color percentage ranges from 35 to 54, and they have high population density, anywhere from 1,200 to over 4,000. That summary includes the tract of the most southern tract of the city, which includes Shore Avenue and a lot of large homes and that kind of thing.
So those are in there.
Those are in
Yeah,
that
okay.
one.
And they're skewing the income up, probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so the tracts with median income of that fall into open space of greater than 11%. Have a median income of $90,000 to $145,000, less than 25% people of color, and a lower population density from anywhere from 500 to 1,500 people per square mile. So it gives you a feel for where things fell. The exception is tract 7028. Which has a median income of 56,000, has 55% people of color, 30% open space, and a pretty high density. But I believe that this is an example of where we have some affordable housing in the area. Is that where the Navy housing is?
I don't know where off the top of my head where these
Yeah,
tract
so if
numbers
we go
are.
back, well, you can look at it, but there's more open space in that area. Definitely compared to the city. So-
Clarification, is it 11% for the left side and 89%?
50%. 89 to 50% open space. There's one census tract that 48% of the tract is open space. And that's the one with Bluff Point in it,
Okay,
and all of the Groton.
so
Bluff Point.
the individual tracks are under 11%, not the sum total of all the,
It's individual tracts,
okay,
yes,
okay.
with open space less than 11%. And then the ones on the right, anything above. Okay, so now there's
Well,
another
well,
way of summarizing this data.
No,
It would
I got it
be-
down as a question, but that's
Yes.
fine. That's what,
Yeah.
that's why, okay. Homework,
Okay.
homework.
So aerial view, this just highlights
Okay,
the,
there's 7028 right here.
it's,
That's
yeah,
that one that was that you had.
Exactly.
Stuff.
with the 70 and
Two
20,
very different
yes.
demographics inside of it.
That's right. I just wanted to have this up because you can see that hopefully that there's a lot of streets and buildings in the city and in different pockets of Pequannock Bridge area, Long Hill Road area, and even in the Mystic area, you can see a lot more developed business areas where there's just fewer less open space.
Yeah, even like that right map right there,
Yeah,
having that in the corner. Of
Yes.
Things, just so you can say, okay, that's over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that one's there.
that's a good one.
Helpful.
Yeah. So actually,
That was actually
another
the clearest.
thing, just as if anyone's looking at area with census data, Noah pointed out to me that a lot of the ones on the shore include a lot of water. So that's why he outlined and gave me land area. So just as a FYI. Okay, so tracks with areas of high development, I've listed in the blue there. Because it's highly developed, it's more difficult to increase open space in those tracks. And also in most of those areas, they generally lack wooded or forest areas with trails. And there tends to be a higher concentration of lower income and people of color in those tracks as well. So then I started thinking, well, access to open space. Can people who live in highly developed areas access open space in other tracks? And so ideally, you want a 10-minute walk to open space. There are a few bike trails. I did not make a map of that for this. And with the greenway, there's going to be a nice bike track, I think, all the way through. So that will be a big plus for this. And then as far as cars, there could be parking limitations, and then the bus has a limited route. So just briefly, now this hiking trails map, sometimes I can't even find the same map twice, but there are trails missing on here, like Gunjewump and Candlewood Management. But the point is that on the western half or third of this map, you see a lot less wooded areas with trails.
Yeah, but we have the beach.
But you do have the beach, which I'm very jealous about. Okay, so going to the next one. Okay, how about going via bus? So the map on the left is right out of the SEAT web page. Then what I did is translate it onto an open streets map. And then on the next slide, I
So
generated.
we have no bus routes on our eastern side.
Ding, ding, ding,
On
eastern side.
the eastern side, we have no bus rides on the eastern side. So, and this shows, this is the cross-hatched area is my estimation, rudimentary, but a 10-minute or half-mile walk. And so if you, from a bus stop, so if you got off, then that's basically the arc of where you might run into things. Another thing to point out, the one kind of in the middle there, that's the Groton Reservoir, which we don't really have access to as far as I know.
Currently,
Currently, right.
the Tri-Town Trail goes through there. That's a greenway.
Yeah, right. Bus stop, okay. So what can we do? Purchase land in tracts with fewer open space. That might be hard to do in highly developed tracts. Improve access to open space for people living in highly developed areas of Groton. Improve bike trails, which the greenways will help. Offer transportation somehow, trolley, I don't know. Increase bus routes, especially on weekends or other times. And this also comes down to more affordable housing in areas with easy access to open space. Those are the things that kind of popped into my head. And then the rest of the slides are just additional. Yeah, that's enough.
Good.
I have the poverty level stuff. The poverty level is by household, so it's not just under a certain income.
All right, well, thank you.
That was a whirlwind.
That was good.
Nice
Yeah,
effort.
so
A lot of data.
study it.
Well, and I would like to just, I don't know how you thought about this, but my comment about the beach. I mean, I live in that supposedly low density, but I walk to the beach, I go to every point. I mean, I can do a lot
You
of
can
really
do a lot.
nice walking.
So
That's
should we
just as
include
good as
that?
open space walking. That's not
You-
counted in there.
Well, that's the
Right.
whole thing is I don't think, if we could go back, under the state-owned preserved, when we go to the full definition and update the inventory map, you'll see you're dealing with a significantly different map than what she would put
Right.
up there. Than the
Ah.
open space, than
So I
the
think
open
this is,
streets
I
map.
mean, what you did, Ann, is amazing. And it might be skewed a little because of the stuff you excluded.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Oh, no, and
yeah,
I pointed that out and,
Right.
if we need to put all of that state-owned, and I added Pequot Woods, which is a managed open space. It's not dedicated open space. And another one was considered, but I tried to capture those when in the list.
So I'm just thinking
Yeah.
now, just kind of as we're going into looking at it, what are we really trying to get at? Do people, do they have access to open air places to walk it? If that's what we're trying to get at, do we need to, consider what people have access to that's not included in the list, I guess?
Yeah,
That's
or,
for people to think about when they look at your
Or
your
we-
data.
somehow star that. So,
Right.
and indicate that it may not be.
So what I would like to do is to have a slug of time
Right.
to have the discussions, to have absorb it. There's information, and with a couple other questions, not just the content of the chart, but if you can be specific on any conclusions you want to throw on the table. Also socialization. Do we want to get, how do we want to get
Mm.
proponents of this from the town council? Or I know, Andre, for example, from the state representative, I mean, he'd jump on board on this. And so I know there's a few people that would, we would want to work with it first before we present it to town council per se. But I think that's where this needs to go.
Well,
Right. Yes.
she had her hand up first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I just had, in terms of access to open space, it's kind of access to nature in a way. I'm just wondering, in these less advantageous places to live regarding open space, what about taking something like Fort Griswold, where it's just big mowed grass, and taking sections of those kinds of spaces that exist and kind of, curating them, reverting them to more of a forested, wooded type of environment, and or because it's a city, it's densely populated, paved, et cetera, but there have to be little sections and spaces where they call it, parklets, like just little miniature settings where people can access nature without having to get on the bus and go an hour.
that would be a recommendation
Yeah,
to come
so.
back.
that was-
I mean, it's good, a specific recommendation, because the general one is nice, but what do you do with it? We want to, I think, a conservation, which we want to push some specifics.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
Two
Tom?
comments. One is that this is, what Ann's doing is really the next generation of what we already have. We already have the environmental justice section in our open space conservation plan. And in a lot of this, the census block,
yeah.
because Ann worked with me when we were putting the
Yeah.
report together. And so this is the next step beyond that for inclusion into the POCD, really, is how I see this.
Hmm.
The flip side of this is that a lot of this factors is on the city. The city has a majority or a vast preponderance of the lower areas that get focused here. And that's really, we don't have much control on that. That's there's a separate POCD. It's all city conservation commission issues. And so we need to be kind of walking a thin line here, or, understand what our responsibilities are. We can keep track of it from the overall town perspective.
Yes.
But we intentionally I did not intentionally, when we were drafting up the conservation plan, we kind of put this aside because the issue is too hard because
I get it, but
issue.
the research
Yeah.
is generic.
Yeah, yeah.
Sharing,
Yeah.
one of the actions would be sharing it with the city.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I actually,
right.
we talked about this, that I should call, and I did, and I just never got a call back.
Right, I don't, it's surprised me. The only
Yeah.
way I got to the city of Groton was to actually show up at the meeting. Okay.
Well, we can talk about those as actions
Yes,
when
yeah.
we get
Yeah,
to it.
those are only points I want.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
okay,
and
I agree.
the first, I wanted to just do this by census tract as much as possible, than dividing into, north and south or east and
Well, the
west.
first
and-
way to solve the
City
problem
graph.
is to define
Yeah, get the
the
data.
data
Yeah,
on what the current status is. That then leads us to
Yep.
other things. So I think this is a great start.
That's good job, Ann.
And I can think of, in fact, I got down to 9 items that I wrote down just when you were talking.
Wow,
So we can,
that's great.
there's things that, that we can,
Yeah,
where do we go next? How do we make this, a more visible, powerful, and there's a lot of things to pull out
Yep.
from here, and figuring that out is gonna be another task entirely, right?
One of the things, Laura, is I will take another action item, third one, in regard to updating the
Tom does Tom.
working inventory database to include all the census tract data, because I should be able to do that really quick.
That's cool.
That way.
Interesting.
that would, be-
Yeah.
oh, you mean right in the database? I was wondering, well, I have it all on my best guess. If you want to upload, have,
No, this is a piece of cake to do that.
yeah, I was wondering if it was, but yeah. It did take a while to try and figure out where everything was, but it was all right.
So Ann, you're gonna update the PowerPoint with the change you want to do.
Oh, yes,
And then send it to me, and then I'll forward it out to you
Yeah.
all as soon as they get it back for us, so hopefully you'll have about a month to look at it.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wanted to say too, about the city piece of it, and I know this,
mhm,
it's hard to get involved in, but I think it goes back to what Larry said last month or the month before about, I think it was last month about Ledger and their whole
Mhm.
plan that they came up, and that, so something that might be helpful is you had mentioned, like, maybe we need to sit down together with Ledger and have a joint meeting. Well, maybe the same thing would be valuable to do it with the city of Groton once a year and just have a conversation about, I mean, the thing that felt, and I didn't, well.
We
Have
tried.
you tried this? All right, well, all right, it's fun.
Didn't get it.
That-
We didn't get it.
All right,
Doesn't say we don't try again.
but the thing that really stood out for me was the busing. Just from the standpoint of it, and it makes sense, yes, it's all located over here, but there's nothing on. the-
Nothing.
We need one each
Nothing.
plus
all
something.
the bus, isn't that crazy?
So train, you guys all know, transportation is a huge thing, so. Anyways, that's my
Cool.
2 cents from afar.
Okay. And I think you're right. This is gonna wind up as our part of our input to the POCD.
Yeah.
And then after that, flip back and update our conservation plan in 2028 or something, whenever we do that. Okay. Very good. Thanks again. So we're getting up homework for March now. We're starting to fill up our
I think
calendars.
Tom has a lot.
Yeah, we have 3 things on. March.
No. You guys have homework, provide input on that.
Oh, yeah.
Provide input on the POCD, the items. So there are a few things. Speaking of which, I did have the section 7 updates, which was published. The only feedback I got was from Tom. So should I assume that you all guys agree with what's in there for your responsibilities? How's that for a back?
Are we gonna skip around because we do the town budget schedule?
No, that was next. 4-7 was section 7 updates.
Yeah, no, but we didn't do 4.5 or 4.6.
Correct.
Larry.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. 4 was Wolfbrook.
Right. 4.5.
Oh, it's hidden at the bottom of the page. Town budget schedule and status. All right, keeping us on track here.
Good job, Michelle.
So
No updates.
Well, that's easy.
That's easy.
an easy one. 'Cause
That's
they
easy,
asked them
right.
again, I said anything new, they're like, nope.
Oh, the budget.
I-
Oh, no update.
Regarding the booth business, the
Oh, so yes,
Budget.
that's different. This is more about the overall, so they're, yes.
Okay.
So a couple things, we will store stuff here,
Okay,
that's not a problem, and the cost seems fine.
Yeah.
With the stuff, so I think it's just.
plus or minus, I'm assuming.
Plus,
right?
yeah, well, plus just prioritizing, what do you want to start with? Do you want
Yeah.
everything? Do you want,
Well, with this part of the project with Con College,
Exactly,
like,
so I
these
think-
kids are gonna come in, so once we start, we'll
Once
have to say, okay, we can order the stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I should say too, I learned something the other day too, which might be helpful. I don't know how many of you have used a NatureScape before, probably at least a couple of you, which is the watershed model.
Oh.
You ever seen that before? It's we used to use it all the time where I used to work. It's about half the size of the table, and it's a a generic version of a town with coastal waters and little rivers and whatnot. And the whole purpose of it is to explain a watershed to anyone who comes up to it. So as a thought, right now it sits in Public Works. And it's been sitting there collecting dust, and I was having a meeting with them going, I'm like, what's in the box? Like, oh, it's a naturescape. I'm like, really? What's it doing in the box? Like, oh, we've used it like twice. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
so
that would
something
be
to think
great.
about. When you're developing these, events of booths, interactive is the way to go. And you want people to come.
Could you snap a picture of that and send it to Michelle? Because that
Yes.
we could say, here's a resource that's,
Mhm.
because you're right, you could design a whole thing around that.
And so it's fun for kids, it's fun for families.
That's fun, yeah. When you put water in it and they splash around.
Absolutely. So if you.
Oh, you can like pour water on the top and you see where it
You
goes.
make it rain, so you get little spray bottles.
Uh-huh.
And you say, so you set up a little town, you have like a little Hot Wheels car.
We can wipe out the town with the,
With a-
with
yeah, with a giant
a lot of water.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But you have a little spray bottle.
How big is it and how heavy?
It's not big, it's not like about half the size of the table.
Yeah.
Theirs is in a box, which I don't like. So I already talked to them, like, why don't you have the carrying case? And they're like, okay, we should get that. So the carrying case is on wheels. It'll fit in the back of your car.
Is
no
it
problem.
plastic? Like
It's plastic, yep. You rinse it out after you're done.
Like a teaching model. basically.
Absolutely. So, and you can talk about, so if you wanted to talk about plastic pollution, right? You could take, we used to take, what do we use? for
You can buy
plastic?
little beads, right? Little.
You could do little
plastic
beads or
something.
we used to use, just, spices.
Mhm.
So if we did fertilizer, we would get basil. And on the fields or your house, you sprinkle the basil on there. You say, okay, everything's good here. And then you say, okay, you're down by the, do you have a dog? Oh, I have a dog. I have Fluffy. Oh, did you walk your dog? I said, yeah. Did you clean up of it? Yeah. Well,
Well,
I tried to. So we would take coffee grounds and you maybe, oh, do you walk the dog on the beach? You put a little coffee ground there.
Oh, how cute. So we'll have to have a separate session.
I could do the
about
whole thing.
thing.
Yeah.
And you know,
Sit down.
Yeah,
it's, I'll do the whole demo because it's really fun. And
great.
again, it's, so as you're thinking about what type of outreach you want to get out to the community, this is a way to get them there.
That's very cool,
And
yeah.
to talk about, and you can bring it into hike, into the open space and everything else like that. But it really is that engagement piece that people are like, oh, what's that? Oh, can I?
Yeah.
You know,
that's
it's-
cool.
Oh, the
Great.
students that are on that project are gonna have a
So
blast.
much fun. It's really good. And like I said, it's sitting in Public Works office right now. It's been used twice. And I think when you actually start the tabling events, it'll be a huge hit. And you'll, I don't want to even say quadruple, you'll potentially 10 times how many people would normally stop by
Yeah.
if you just had maps. Some people love maps. I love maps, but other people.
it's touchy-feely is
Touchy-feely.
is good.
Yeah,
Aesthetic.
exactly.
Some of the kids, I mean, especially for kids,
Yeah.
kids in math.
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
Wonderful.
Good.
Yep. I'm done.
Oh, I did kind of skip. So
Yeah.
the plan of conservation development, we do have for next month. The action was for the March meeting to review the PDF file that was sent out with a list of things in the priority listing. So, low, medium, high. I'm trying to-
Yeah, I basically made just.
Three categories,
I
yeah.
made it simple and if you want, you can. I was like, you could even put a number to it, 1 for low, 3 for medium, 5 for high, and then you could figure out numbers and. And Larry like numbers, so. I'm just saying.
Okay, so that's for next week. And then I hit Ann. So we did that.
That is.
This is the.
That's the
brainstorming.
No, that's
Yeah,
the,
yeah, so that's on, it's all part of an Excel spreadsheet, so you can actually go in there and input your.
he said, yeah, that's,
But it's the same list as
it's the same list, but he
Yeah.
put it into an Excel spreadsheet.
He sent out after last Monday's meeting.
Oh, so that
Yeah.
was between Monday and today?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I got home at midnight last night. I didn't see.
Oh, yeah,
anything
that's
else,
fine.
So no.
Yeah. so if you didn't get it, just email me and I'll make,
Yeah.
but I know you were on the list.
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
Like I said, it's an Excel file, it has a list of 20, the
But
20
then you
things that were
do
identified.
the X marks in each of the,
And then you
lines.
just have to put like a little check next to the
right?
medium.
And we'll consolidate that and see what we got.
Yep, perfect.
Okay. So now I'm on, may I?
There you go.
Section 7. So section 7 is, I was gonna do one of these. If you don't agree with what's in there, you now agree with what's in there. How's that? Rather than going through each one, because it's been out there. So Tom provided some clarification. That's all I got. So I'm making this declarative statement. If anyone disagrees, get to me ASAP because I'm gonna enshrine it.
My name has 1 L.
Huh?
Just
You're
saying.
kidding. Oh, my God. Never mind. Michelle with one L. Spelling of Michelle. How did I do that? Okay. That leads us into, well, that leads us into the website update part. So based upon our last regular meeting, IT deleted the South Road open space, replaced Fleet Bank and Lamphir open space, and it's in there with the correct dates in the file. So that was done. I deleted on news and announcement page the open space inventory comment because I suspect we're going to put it out there again at some future date. And I deleted the NIP survey result as being dated. So that was done. I guess what I'm looking for is things to replace that with or provide additional
I can't figure out where we are in here.
stuff.
Just-
We're on section 4.8.
What page is that?
On the first page, on the agenda.
Or yeah, 4.8. So that's that.
We could have something on the eco fair or whatever
Oh,
it's gonna be
yeah.
called.
I would like that on the main website,
Oh, yeah.
not the conservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I would promote,
Okay, yeah.
you know.
The entire Groton Library, Public Library will be devoted to this fair, so it's big.
I'm sure it might come out on Greater Groton too.
Oh, okay.
Is that, oh, okay, so that's gonna be taken care of.
And that's the thing
I
that
would
you
think
want
so.
the student help with, or that's the different.
No, that's
No,
what Kristen is talking
Right,
about. Yeah,
okay.
that is
Yeah.
what the students could help with, yeah.
Okay, so we would call it Earth Day Fair, you call it Eco Fair. same thing.
Well, I got, what,
I don't
does it
call
have a
the same, I just
name?
wanna make sure it's
Chris?
Well, no, that's
Student
part of the agenda for
the
January, as I
same
recall, is
thing.
to come up with branding. We gotta come up with a better name and some branding and
Okay,
logos
yeah.
and stuff like that.
I'm just making sure it's not.
no, it's not too big, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Two
One thing,
chairs.
I know we skipped around, but I did forget one thing about the outreach, because we're talking about the watershed model. Ideally, what Deb Jones talked about was all the stuff having basically the Groton logo on it too, so you knew that
Oh,
they went with that too, so that was
Yeah.
another thing.
Okay.
But that's minor, so just want to let you know, Kristen.
all right, the next topic is there is a Connecticut Trails date, June 3rd and 4th of 2023. They have a web page in here for who would be the sponsor, if any, from the Conservation Committee. Last year, we voted not to participate. So it's up now for discussion and to A, participate, and B, who would be the lead that would be on the leader sign-up sheet for Trails Day in June.
I don't even know from here. Oops.
Is there any particular new trail that's
Yeah. I have
town?
Well, it depends on whether Wolfbrook is,
Wolfbrook.
I mean, there's trails there.
There is a trail that starts, there's somewhat parking if you go along Bel Air Street, but that's not big, but.
Yeah.
That's, or else along, knowing what road, because of which way you want to go, but it's not, you can kind of make a loop out of it.
Maybe it's something to ask, well, I don't know if it's too late, but maybe it's something, well, maybe it's something to ask Mark about the status of that in April. It still would give 2 months. People are
Well,
gonna
no,
sign
you have to sign up. Pretty
Way
soon.
ahead?
Well,
Nowish. I remember we missed it a couple years and then,
well,
I
yeah,
think it's
I did the
now-ish.
last one, back on, and then you worked one.
Well, we
Yeah,
did video for one.
yeah,
I
you did the
think.
one during COVID. I did the one
Right.
pre-COVID. I did 2019 and she did the 2020
20,
on the,
and
I
then,
did the Cobb property and you did Mortimer Wright.
Yeah.
And so we have,
I did the comp property before that.
yeah, and you did Cobb before that, but that was before I got here.
can I ask a question? Can any group sponsor this or they,
Well, the question, yes, anybody
yes.
can, any group can sign up, like Ghost is gonna sign up for Trails Day,
Okay.
Avalonia signs up for
Yeah.
Trails Day. The question is, does the conservation commission
Okay,
want to
gotcha.
sign up for trails days, as we have in the past. Ray's done one, I've done one, and did one. So.
I know where the eyeballs are looking, but I'm not committing. I don't know if I'll be around. I don't know what's going on.
So we do not have volunteers. So
At this time.
at this
Well, we
time,
We
do
could,
a-
you could get
we
another
could-
month out of it.
We could do another video for one,
Add it to March.
because that's what we did. And because it was during COVID.
And basically all you're doing is just showing up somewhere and taking a hike with some people. Is that kind of
Right,
it?
that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
well, ideally, you'd like to have some comments to
Agenda.
make.
something
Yeah,
like that.
as that trail leader,
Right.
there's an expectation that you'll provide some type of input,
Stimulation.
yeah,
Mhm.
or, an overview of what's on the property. and be able
Right,
to-
I was on one, he pointed out every plant and
It depends on what
its
your
name, and I
focus
went,
is,
I
you
can't
know.
do anything, I don't know.
The comp
So-
really is pretty, relatively speaking, is a fairly straightforward one.
Yeah, we were, I've done the bottom loop because of a lot of older people
Yeah,
Mm.
were participating.
it's
And
almost.
and
you
we
could
were
advertise
trying
it
to,
accessible.
at that time, they hadn't really finished marking the purple trail, I guess.
Right, the purple trail is
Purple
completed
trail.
now, and
And,
it, yeah.
and so we haven't done a walk that would include that.
I could ask if GCA would want to, maybe in conjunction, work with us or whatever. 'Cause this isn't something that I'm terrible with trails. I got lost on BB Pond Trail today. I mean.
Oh, no.
how do you do that?
It's a loop.
I
Look,
know,
how can you get lost?
I know, I was just,
It's not that well.
All right, look, let's everybody think about it. There's other ways of supporting this. Like you said, find some other group.
Yeah.
And
And
then
you
we
join
would
with that,
support
yeah.
them or something.
what's the deadline for signing up for this?
I don't know.
It's huge, I thought,
I thought it was on,
soon, right?
Where would this came out of the email. I don't,
I'd say depend, I'll never know where I'm gonna be at any given moment, but we have a meeting on the 5th here, so I'm likely to be in town.
here we go, Trails Day.
Well, one of the things is to pick out a trail,
Yeah,
because that's
otherwise,
right. And then you can fill in a leader for it.
It doesn't say.
Participate, how can you find an event? Can I lead an event? Go to, can I lead an event? Maybe I'll give you a date. Nope.
Nope.
Oh, so much better.
I'm assuming,
because they put a big flyer out and all this kind of stuff, so I know there's a deadline date. I'll see if I can find
all
it.
right, we'll leave that for March. And I had another idea about something else, but we can all consider it, see what to do. The next, stop that share. The next one, which is Connecticut proposed environmental bills. And there's a laundry list.
That's a long list.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a suggestion on that. So there was a state conservation summit that was done on this January 17th. And a lot of this stuff was introduced and everybody was quite frankly I don't know, positioning things. So a lot of these bills never see the light of day. So I guess, let me tell you what Lamont said at that meeting on what he thought was the priorities, which might be a guide here. First, he started off with that the state goal 21% by 2023 was not met. We only got to 76% of the goal. So that means is what, 16, 17%. That's the bad news. The good news is they want to upgrade the OSWA grants from 5 million to 30 million.
Wow.
What does OSWA stand for?
Open space and watershed acquisition.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, that's where, the money from,
Mhm.
that's local.
It's
So,
provided by the state bonding commission.
yeah.
That's all you're asking for is to increase the authorization 5 to 30.
Yeah, and then you got to go through the process, et cetera. So something to keep in mind that for acquisition, and I guess, my thought on that would be if we want to do something, we ought to do it collaboratively, like we did the Welch's, or the Wolfbrook property, and do it with the community and the town, versus one or the other.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we do one or the other.
Mhm.
And that was a success, and we ought to see if we can repeat that success. The other thing was access to open space. So that was I'm talking about things he personally mentioned.
Interesting.
Waste management and clean energy. There was then, so that was what Lamont said, right? Now, given the list of 80,000 bills in there, I'm going to ask for another homework assignment for March. And that would be to just scan through there and just exit. Hey, I think these are important. Now, it should match what we just said was our
Right.
PLCD objectives. I mean, so there should be alignment in these things. And the point would be is that there's so many in there is we're not going to be able to sponsor, support, or get behind or even write letters for 50 bills. So we got to kind of narrow it down which ones we're interested in, then narrow it again, which ones we think have legs.
Mhm.
And then, so this is a lot, but I think we start with which ones we even want to consider.
But this isn't all environmental.
No, it's
No,
Well, there was, the sort was things dealing with land. Let's see, Tom made the sort.
Yeah, I got the sort was conservation, open space, and plastics.
Yeah.
Okay, so an act concerning intimate partners and domestic violence murder. How in the heck did that end up?
yeah, there's a bunch in there. I was.
There are a bunch,
There's a bunch.
but I'm happy to take that one on,
Yeah,
Larry. I'm happy to sort through.
sort these out.
Oh,
I would,
I need an assignment, don't I?
okay. No, okay. So wait a minute, hold on.
could I
Unless Tom wants to do.
put it out there that,
Oh, okay.
It's almost 30.
that, anything that, Andre is putting up there as our newly elected representative, that if there's an environmental thing that Andre is, that we would want
I know that's step two that says we're
to.
interested.
Want to get
And if
behind.
he's
whatever-
sponsoring, you can reach out to him.
It's all
Right.
Andres.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking at it. I'm saying that
Yep.
might be an area of focus. for us.
That's exactly where I was going. First, we
Right.
find out which ones we're interested in, then look at which one has legs
Yeah.
with sponsors that we can have some leverage with.
Fine.
So
Or
you're
support.
gonna do this or is everyone doing this?
oh, didn't you want
Do
a
we have
homework
this
assignment?
as an Excel
For
file?
everyone?
No, I
I
was.
was gonna do it. but
Okay, no,
I'll
that
take
you
a
can do,
stab
it. You
at
can
it.
take a stab at it.
Everyone
Yeah.
needs to
Stab
do
at
it,
it, because
yeah.
I mean,
Because,
I don't think we all need to.
That's not just if we're all looking for the same type of stuff.
yeah, be cool.
Yeah, well, you have the PLCD candidate, list, so that's
That-
the start, and then that gets weaned
Yep.
after the next meeting.
Tom, what did you said plastics,
Yeah, it's right at the
conservation, and
very-
what was the third?
Open space.
It's key, right at the very, it's on page 12. It says the keyword results is conservation, open space, and plastic.
Yeah, but you're gonna pick up anything. It's not the best search engine.
No, it is not the best search engine, yeah.
Space, anything with
Present and
open and
project
space and.
Fine, so but it's the
Yeah.
first filter, so that's fine. I have a filter.
Yep, okay, so filter one, and we'll do filter one.
And also
we're
just an FYI, that there's a lot of environmental bills or enter in the energy committee or get passed on to another committee because, certainly with climate, that happens a lot.
Yep, so there's an enormous amount of bills. To my point is,
Yeah.
we got to focus.
Yes.
On which ones we
Right.
want to.
So based
Support.
on the list from the POCD,
And then we could kind of go to the
And-
GOSA and GCA and some of the other things and say, hey, here's what we come up with.
Right.
Are we aligned in any of these? Right, it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was, in that conservation summit, since we're talking about it, you attended a session,
I was late to the climate session,
okay? I was at the
waste.
solutions to waste crisis. And their objective was to reduce waste by 60%. And here's what they said. Well, first was reduce waste on the front end via legislative action. organic diversion.
Yep.
Bill 5613, that they get it down by 23%. Pay as you throw, unit-based pricing, that's
This
another
is so great. They're all this happening at the state.
For-
This is what
40
we're doing
40%.
locally, like let the state do the work.
No, I agree, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, wonderful.
40% reduction plastics, the bottle bill, product responsibilities for packaging waste, which is something I always wanted, that Germany does 100%. That the manufacturers, 100% of the waste reclamation is in the cost of the product, and they've got to
They have
pay
to do
for it.
That extended producer responsibility.
Yeah.
Huge discussion last year at
Yeah.
the legislature.
So
They could
that's
not
a
agree.
tough one. I mean,
It's
that's a
very
tough one.
difficult.
But anyway, that's there. Oops, oh,
So-
man.
But,
Right. I mean,
but yeah, if you had all of the Northeast states,
All right, plastic reduction was mentioned, polystyrene.
polystyrene.
That wasn't what I was gonna say. The town of Groton got a mention
They did,
of being a leader
yeah.
and taking local
Was great.
actions
Wow,
on
was that
plastic
us?
reduction.
That was us.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that was mentioned. Foodware, so the bottle bill was there, burning.
I just saw a message come through that there's backsliding that being proposed on the bottle bill.
I'm sure there is. Yeah. no,
So that might be something that
Oh,
we
yeah,
need to
that's,
be on top of.
these are, some of these are not, I mean, there's certain lobby groups that are very powerful, so.
But it's signed into law, right? Didn't Lamont?
No, this is an additional expansion to the bottle bill. New
You're
bottle.
no, but there was the new one got signed, I thought.
Yeah, no, the one from last year was signed, the last session was signed.
So I think they're backsliding on that one,
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I think.
They're trying to go
Okay.
for a more substantive one in the new bills. And you probably know that the last burning plant that we contribute to is going to be decommissioned. And thing is,
Wait,
they're not,
say that again?
there's the Groton sends a lot of its waste to
Lisbon.
yeah, which is being decommissioned. I'm trying
Which
to remember
is the
when.
longest, it has the longest lifetime, is my understanding. Mira in Hartford just got decommissioned.
Right,
Right.
but Lisbon is on the docket to be decommissioned at a future date.
What are they
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
do with our waste?
But
Thus the problem. So,
we just took a tour of the Lisbon waste to energy
Yeah.
plant.
but let me get a
Fascinating.
couple of statistics, because they're going, if you look at burning,
It's
you still got
fascinating.
30% of the volume is still ash you got to do something with. So
goes
it
to
doesn't
Putnam.
solve it,
It
right?
goes to
Yeah,
Putnam.
right now. And then 70% of the toxins go in the air. So burning isn't necessarily the best environmental solution. So I don't expect that Lisbon is going to be long. They're going to look for a lot more of this waste reduction to the front end, which makes sense, right? And then Lamont made a very specific announcement on organic waste, which came out on January 24th, which was a couple of days after this session, which is out there. And, you know, this is a major problem in the state of Connecticut. Now, we're in the state of Connecticut. And you know, the analysis we did before about, this was before your time, I guess. But if you look at the stats, we're spending $1 million, trying to remember now, $1.6 million on waste. And we're getting a discount because of an old contract, which goes away, I think, sometime in the next 5 years. So it says our cost, all of our costs are gonna go up by about 50%.
That's why we want pay as you throw.
So pay as you throw is
Pay as you throw.
is a thing. Now,
Works
that's
really well.
something that we can look at locally. We don't need a state mandate. So like I said, when we get through this stuff, we can say, one, we can support the state, and the other one we can say, wait a minute, we should do this locally. So that would be another,
Southampton does it,
you know, I mean, it's already being done. So,
and it reduced their trash by an enormous.
yeah, they had some
40%.
numbers, 40%. Yep. So local versus state, maybe that's another sort, is it? Yeah, all these things are great, but are they the ones we would want, we think we could target it at a local level, but we can actually do?
Oh, okay.
I mean, pay as you throw is we have the ability to do that, right? Some of these things we don't, like the bottle bills and those things, we don't, not really. Okay, so that was 4-10. Oh, we're just chugging along.
Oh, the climate, I did find my notes.
Okay,
Just, I was late, but, Charles Rothberger or something like that from the Save the Sound was talking about climate impacts and evaluation of climate impacts and mitigation plan. But was really talking about enforcement components. I think he had a big part of the Global Solutions Warming Act from 2008, I think, and every single goal in that act that was passed was not reached. It's been, and so
Shocker.
What a shocker, yes.
when Lamont signed the new goals, there needs to be accountability in there, and that was harped on quite a
Just
bit.
setting goals is,
And he was saying that with accountability, that Deep should have some authority on some of that, I think, if I'm reading my notes right. And then there was a person from the Nature Conservancy that presented on decarbonizing the now I can't read my writing, energy or economy. But the thing that stuck out that from that presentation or discussion was that we need a roadmap to get this done. And that's something I can't believe we don't have a roadmap. So
Really?
in fact, I've had that discussion trying to figure out if the state has a roadmap on how we're going to get to decarbonization. So that was his, and so, I mean, anyway, that's up my alley for sure. Oh yeah, roadmap to get there needs to be made.
All right,
It has to be it has to be affordability needs to be included as well as other factors.
I say you should, you said that's up right up your alley, so I'm like,
Well, yeah, no, I know. I was gonna take a trip up to Deep, what is it? I think that's all I have. Let's see. Oh, there was discussion on nuclear power. I think people know that Millstone's already been extended 10 years. It's 50%, 45 to 50% of our energy in Connecticut is from nuclear power. So I think Lamont is thinking about doing something with nuclear. Is that right? Can you hear that?
he didn't, well, he talked about an energy policy. He didn't, everything was on the table, was kind of the sense I got.
Okay. And that's really all I had from that, unfortunately. I was, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I guess my net of all that was a lot of people talking about stuff, but I'm,
Action.
yes, action oriented wasn't the
So-
meeting.
So that was at the League of Conservation Voters Summit.
Yep.
That sponsors and it has a lot
Yep.
of legislation.
So you get a lot of politicians
Yeah,
playing to that crowd, but whether
Yeah.
they do anything or not, and accountability is key to this whole thing. So you're absolutely correct. All right, next is, a bit ago, we had said, we never get anything to vote on for,
They do.
so now we got two. Right, which was the deep notifications is in the agenda. Little Gulf Marine and Noank Marine Services in terms of dredging. I asked our marine expert. Yes. The vice chair to, you look at this and provide recommendations on what should the council or the commission's position should be. And I guess we would feed it back through you.
I don't know, when I talked to Deborah, because I asked that same thing, it's like, basically, it's up to you as a commission to decide if you want to take any action on these at all. We review them internally, but we have no action. I review both. I used to review stuff like this all the time, and I have no comments on either of these. I've seen much worse proposals that I usually comment on, but these are,
Well, I thought it was fairly well done.
yeah,
but,
there's no issues with them. So basically what Deb said is if you want to have an action as a commission, then it would be something that you would all put together a letter like you normally would for something and send it into them, if you felt it was
Okay.
worthwhile.
Right, what we've done in the past is that if we had no comment or whatever, we would pass it through you.
Okay.
Then that would go back into the pipeline.
Okay.
Back up there. Do you have any,
I have it teed up.
if you
yeah.
could, what's the first one, Lullaby?
Yeah.
If you could just do,
Page 31.
if you could go to the last part where the maps are, Daco's,
Page 35.
Oop. February agenda. There we go.
What's the
Uh,
effect of dredging on shellfish beds?
Which one? Little gull or no ink?
Little go, the dredge one.
Page 35.
There we go. Oh, attachment. Why didn't that pop up?
No,
there it is.
Scroll down. No, all the way. He's looking for the last page, or close to the last page. When you get into the
Keep
map.
going until you find the map.
right,
Next.
Yep, yes.
That's 32.
This ever.
No, they're long. There we
There you
go. And then there's a series of maps. Yep. Is that the map or you want them more
oh, you
closer?
can go to the next one.
That one?
Okay,
Let's see. I guess that's pretty big. Okay.
so, just to go back to effective dredging on shellfish beds,
That-
it depends on the sediment, what's in it.
Mm.
And it depends on the location, so when the Navy at the submarine base has done dredging, maintenance dredging for their piers, their docks for the subs, raised a great deal of concern
Mm.
because they have not necessarily been the best of folks are careful about what's going on.
Well, let's go to historic. Historical stuff, and that's all handled by the,
So, because there were shellfish beds up
Okay,
the
yep.
river that they used to call it Malloy's bed, and it was reactivated. And the question came up, can I go directly off the bottom to market? And DEP came in and said, no, you're too close to tidal influx. Tidal flows back and forth. And so if they're doing active work within the sediments around EB,
Oh,
I'm sorry, around
the Navy.
the subbase, it could flow up. And then as filter feeders, they're taking in whatever's in the water column that's been brought up by the sediments from somewhere else. So in this case, there are shellfish beds next to it. But I agree with Dave that I don't have any comment about the dredging here. This is a second dredge, only a little bit larger than what went on a number of years ago with Wooden Boat Marina that's in the lower left. This is just before the railroad bridge. It's a very quiet area up in there. There's a lot of sediment. It's a great sediment sink. But on this case, they're not really disturbing much of anything.
My only question was, does in the routing of all this stuff, did the Shellfish Commission get a review on this?
Yes.
It got sent to them also? Okay, that was my. If they're-
Harbor Commission, Shellfish Commission, us,
Okay,
and something else.
yeah, that was, because that,
Right,
the
right,
shellfish is really not our problem, as long
Right.
as it's gone there. And-
Right. I spoke with the Shellfish Commission
Okay,
or emailed, and we had emailed back and forth. And basically, they didn't have a problem with what is proposed before us and the dark areas where they wish to dredge. What he did mention was they're concerned about possibly a mooring field for boats outside of the dredged area. And that is not in this proposal. I don't know where what's happened to it, but this proposal has been on the books now for 4 years, started in 2019. So it's been a long grind through. Talking with someone else about this particular project, one of the interesting things is that they're proposing to take about a third of the dredge spoils and recycling them.
Meaning like compost?
Taking it and drying it out and then separating into different components. And
Sand, gravel.
sand, gravel,
Running through a sieve.
right? The organics could go for something else for processes. The problem with it is, as far as I know, the one place that was supposed to open up a dredge spoil recycling center was Dow Chemical in Ledyard.
Yeah. They're still arguing about the zoning on that.
Right,
Hmm,
to do it.
So this, oh, sorry.
So I think that their proposal to have a third of those sediments go out to a recycler, I think was the support of that
Mm.
operation.
so where's the rest of the sediment go? They dump it out in, I mean, the
Into
sound.
Long Island Sound.
There's designated dredge spoil area in Long
in
Island.
the sound.
And they
Sound,
use that as well as any of these private guys would be doing it.
All right.
So this is the point of this is to make a marina there. So I mean, I assume that the Shellfish Commission and so on have, because that's right along, you know exactly where that is, Anne, right? I mean, that's those, that, he bought that rundown house right down by Willow Point and he made a little upscale hotel there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And just down a
Yes.
bit further.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what this is.
Yeah, and
Got
then a
it.
bit further down.
Oh, Willow Point, yeah, I should have known.
Yeah, and
we
a
walked
bit
there.
further down, apparently he's building like an old style, like a marina, but with a certain particular style. So I don't know if it's more for his personal use, but I assume it's gonna be a commercial marina, so I guess the Shellfish, I mean, you're not doing all that work for nothing. That they're making it deeper so they can bring boats in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
definitely dredge.
Well, there's pre-existing docks that are there now.
Yeah, but I mean, we're,
So he's improving.
Yes.
but those docks aren't really used at all.
That's because
so-
you can't get to them because it's all silted up.
Right, but I'm saying, but there may be some ecosystem in there that's been, because it's been sort of abandoned or not sufficiently, that's gonna sort of strongly impact the shellfish lease area. So I assume those people are paying attention.
And they would comment, like, I used to work with we don't have shellfish commissions in around, but we have the Coastal Resource Management Council, and then we do have shellfish aquaculture leases, and they would all have a comment if there was stuff like that. Yeah, they would, if they had a comment on that, if there was any impact or was getting close to their area, they would say something.
Because usage is gonna go up in that area a lot. It's gonna be quite different.
But the other thing is, most of this dredging is for getting boats in there, but also in some cases, it does increase the flow in there, which is oftentimes a good thing for some of the shellfish areas. Like we had some issues in some of the salt ponds where the dredging actually helped the shellfish aquaculture because it was silting in and they needed, and boats were getting stuck, but also they weren't getting as much flow. So there's a lot of balance for this stuff. And, and the biggest thing too is that, you don't just have to have the proposal. There's a lot of pre-work, and you said 4 years. So there's, there's sediment cores that they have to go down there and look at the
But-
sediment and,
They've already made
And
those.
collect-
that's what I'm saying, but that's all part of what builds up to this whole thing. It's not just like, oh, let's stretch here. They'll go through and look at the ecosystem. A lot of times, at least in Rhode Island, I'm assuming they do it here. They'll do they won't let you dredge in areas where there is shellfish or shellfish based upon a certain size. So if you have a high stock of natural shellfish there, they usually won't allow you to do it there. So there's a
But
lot of.
again, that's an assumption, because that's what it was in Rhode Island. We don't.
I know that. I'm not saying it's the same, but I know a lot of, they're very similar. in
One of
terms
the
what they
other
do.
big issues for Eastern Connecticut anyway, and Connecticut is eelgrass beds.
Yep.
Coastal eelgrass beds, because there's we're very fortunate in our area to have beds that have survived the decline that's happened in the rest of the state. Between here and over toward Fisher's Island, we have some of the richest eelgrass beds. Having said that, if there were proposed dredging through those, there would be some major pushback. And in this case, I didn't see anything in relation to eelgrass, and probably I don't think there is any up there.
I actually looked, I took the eelgrass overlay and there's nothing within, it's very far away from there. So, but but Bray's exactly right. I mean, like, that was one of the big overlays that we would look at specifically was eelgrass because of the ecosystem services that it provides. So, and there are a lot of dredge operations and even shellfish operations that will try to skirt their way around it and whatnot. So
Right.
that's one of the big lenses to look at for these kind of projects.
There is one thing I'd like to just put on the table for folks. Could you back up a slide? Yep, that one. I'm gonna sort of apologize to the folks on the visual audience and just come up to point out. The one concern that I have is that adjacent to the proposed dredge area, I can see on the road, there is a very small area around Point B to the southwest. It is a salt marsh. And this salt marsh is on both sides of the road. Yeah. On the other side of the road, it's compromised. Because apparently there is a pipe that runs underneath to connect the two and it's clogged.
Oh.
And therefore it's a starved marsh. This is privately owned, which unfortunately it's not a state marsh or it's not town property, it's not state property, but it's private property belonging to the West Mystic Wooden Boat Company. And there are berms on both sides, both the property in question, as well as below this, they have actually mounds protecting their property to define where this marsh is. But my concern is that as they dredge here, and I agree, there's going to be increased use of that area, whatever their development's going to be. And I find it very hard to believe they're going to develop it, because this thing must have been totally flooded back around Christmas when we had that super high tide.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That road's
that
underwater a
road
lot.
is flooded. Yeah.
They may be planning to be.
They don't have access to get in and out at that point. But this, but I just send a note to say, I hope that as this increased use comes, that it's not going to impact this, what seems to be not a good flow going in and out of this marsh. So I don't know if that's on their radar, but
I got that note right here.
so the one concern I have is adjacent to the
Adjacent,
actual
right.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the impact overall could be something detrimental to that marsh. And hopefully maybe the state would take a look at the quality of that marsh, because I don't think that's in the towns.
Let me look at that piece again. I did look at it initially, but I'll make a note and look at it tomorrow.
All right, and the other property? The
And
other
the only
dredging?
so that's the only concern I have here, and I think we should make a comment regarding to the quality of the marsh in the future as a result of this dredging.
Whoops. So where is the other one?
Owned by different people. Right.
Noack Marine, is that the one? Noack Marine.
Oh, no, right, yes.
Isn't that the one we just looked at? Yeah.
Keep going,
Little goal.
keep going, that's little
That
goal.
was.
You're close, there, that's it.
Okay, yep, I'll get to the map, I guess is the. Takes 4 years to read the paperwork. Here we go. All right, that's probably the
That's-
best
that's good,
picture.
that's good. So the area concerned on this one, this is the land site and these are the docks. Pretty much when I read it, all he's asking for is an okay for all the work he's been doing since the 1980s at the site. So they've looked at the docks and said apparently that not everything had been permitted. And they're taking it a whole, as a whole, the whole operation. He's not changing anything. He's not decreasing, he's not increasing, he's not asking for more floating docks. He's asking what I have here. I need a permit for. And I didn't see, so they're just saying what exists. We're now gonna bless you. And
See that White House there? Down, left. Well, anyway, right over there. I almost bought a house right there when I first was moving here, literally. Yeah. So both of these are in.
So I guess my question is. That, you know, it's like accountability. Is there something in that area that says, okay, we'll do that, but. Could you do something for, you know, to support some environmental action that would help that area? As the price to get this approval? I mean, it's kind of like I've been doing the legal stuff for 20, 30, 80s, 40 years. You know, just bless it. That
You don't know
seems-
the whole story here. I think there's something, you know, obviously he's asking for the project description authorized retention of a pre-1980 marine boating and service center, including yada, yada, yada. So he's basically saying that this stuff was grandfathered in. He's done,
But he didn't do it. You're
Yeah.
saying
or whatever, it's been maintained, and now as the current owner, I feel that there's some things that aren't properly reflected here, but I want to get my permit up to date.
okay.
That's how I.
All right, versus I've been doing stuff.
Right, he's not saying he did anything wrong.
Okay,
Right.
all right, okay.
He's just updating his permit.
DEP goes through and every once in a while, they do flyovers. And they appeared more recently to be looking at what's going on the shoreline and then they're having folks in the office pull the permit, you know, for what we're looking at. Does it exist or not exist? Especially for docks. Or what's ever going on the shoreline. So I think that they're just.
This is more of an administrative
Yeah.
correction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they're not
okay.
dredging, they're not changing anything. Because what a concern is that, you know, they've got, it's a boatyard there and. We looked at, as I said, a lot adjacent, and you could just envision people grinding, the fiberglass and little shards of fiber, who knows what's
This
in
is
that
not
water.
having to do anything on shore. This is just all with the piers.
No, but it washes
The
down.
only thing that I saw in reviewing the details of the comparison, because on pages 50 and 51, there's a shorefront facility retention showing, and there is a couple of the finger piers that changed in them, and I didn't know if he was just ensuring that he's getting proper configuration and stuff lined up for what was in previous things. That was the one thing I kind of picked up in here. Not that it's an issue with, because they're all floating piers anyhow, so it's not like it's impacting anything.
Yeah, Kristen, in terms of your piece about the fiberglass, yes, of course, that's a concern for everything, but. Like marinas they have like basically water quality certification that they would have to go through in terms of stormwater and power washing and all that kind of stuff.
It's
So
a
that,
separate permit.
yeah, that's totally different from this thing here.
And they've updated their permits on what you can, how you can do it. Not, for instance, when they haul boats, you now have to, when the marina hoses the bottom down, cleans them off at the end of the season, it has to be done on a pad, it has to be done
Contained.
contained,
Or invasive, right?
right,
Well,
Potentially.
it used
for anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything,
you know,
yeah.
how it used to be, it was just, they pulled the boat and they'd be sitting right above the water, they power wash it, everything would, so you have flux of, you know, the old paint falling in the water.
Oils and
Oh,
things,
everything, it
everything.
was just, so they have gotten a lot better in terms of that, so.
Okay,
Okay.
so the net of it is that you don't have any comments on this.
No, because he's not proposing any changes, he's just asking
Okay.
to quantify or qualify what I have.
Yeah.
And make it all as one permit.
All right, so I would propose that we accept our experts' view of the one comment that on the prior one and no comments on this one. Is that
do you need an official memo on the comment, or would you incorporate it into staff comments?
Yeah, we didn't incorporate in the stat. I'm gonna look back at that marsh there and see if there's any history with that whole thing there.
Unless you feel it'd be better, you want a memo from us. Then we'll just. That's the whole thing, is we got a memo, we had to vote on it. If we don't.
Right.
No,
It's
that,
just a comment that you
yep.
can incorporate. If we're satisfied that the comment is static.
I trust staff. to-
Yep.
Okay.
To know how to
Deal
get
with
stuff
that
done.
Yeah.
okay.
No votes.
No votes required. All right, the next item, 4-12, is the Connecticut Greenway designation process. And that was more informational.
I put this in, is this information that I attended, as a subsequent, the Connecticut Trails group now, that, the lady that was running all the greenways and the trail stuff for the state retired back last June. And her replacement now is Kim Bradley. I think you may know her name before. She's now a state employee.
Okay.
And so she started this group up, and I'm participating in it under both hats, both for the town, for the greenways, but also for the Tri-Town Trail. And so that's come, I've got a double name on there. But she asked me, and she's trying to have some type of program each month. So January, they had somebody talking about some stuff. Trail out on the west, out in same area out in Naugatuck or something. And this way, she's asking me to talk about the greenway, since I went through the greenway process, how I did it. And so I'm just gonna be explaining, and this is the presentation I'm gonna give on the 22nd of February.
Where's this?
Online. It's all done virtually. She runs it out of state DEP office.
And since you were successful in this for the,
Yeah, I'm just,
for the town, right?
nothing,
Very
you haven't
nice.
heard,
Yeah.
you've seen all this stuff before. So,
Yep.
Nice. The only thing I didn't know about is the Greenway. Tell me about the Greenway license plate.
I have one.
So you just contact the state and you.
There's a form of DMP, you go to, you
Okay.
pay, if you want the.
You gotta buy it, right?
Yeah, $50 they give you a number. If you want your name or whatever, vanity plate, it's $130.
That's a one-time fee though. It's not an annual.
One time fee.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I have saved this down.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's there's two of them here.
All right, DMV. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
So it's $50 online, you just, and it takes about 2 weeks and then they send you a new license plate, and then you just send the old license plate in,
Okay.
Cool.
or drop it off in Norwich.
Okay. Thank you. What do you do with your spare time, Tom?
I get out of the house every day.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. You go south.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you just got-
I
Yeah.
got that much.
So Michelle,
Miami.
when we were here at -15,
Sedona.
he was 80 degrees in Florida. Okay. Town used, unused properties on the agenda. We've already reviewed that. That was 4-13. Okay, oh, report of chair.
Stop.
Okay, so, report of chair. So, I had an exchange with the Yukon Center for Land Use Education and Management. What they are, kind of came out of the water modeling program there. So, what he's got is a funding to create, quote, an economic value model that can be used online for all the municipalities. So as a matter of fact, I was on the phone with him today. I've shared with him our model, the user manual, and he went, ooh.
Good.
He said, that's good stuff. And I said, yeah, if you can find something that I didn't find, let me know. It'd be great. Or if you're going to make this online as a state function that we can use, even better. So their approach is more sophisticated. I mean, what they're using is his thought is to use the GIS survey data, which provides data at the 1 square meter level on what type of land it is. I mean, I got on there and did a parcel and kind of drew with the area thing. on a parcel map to kind of figure out what was there, right? So I always kind of, gee, wouldn't it be great if that was automated? Well, theoretically, that could be automated.
Right.
And then be able to, then that part, there's no way I could do that, but that part then gets married to what's the economic value against these, which, kind of like take the stuff I had and the references I had
Right.
and merge those together. So we had a good conversation. But I mentioned what his funding was,
No.
12 million. Fine.
Wow.
Honorarium.
I said, okay. Yes, I could do more with 12 million if the town would like to compete with that.
Oh my
So anywho,
That's
We should just send the thing to look at, just say, I have it done if you'd like
to
to.
fund the town or something. I think take the town funded. So, so what is going to happen is like I said, we had a good discussion and he's going to come back in another month. Where's my notes on that?
What group is he with again?
The Yukon Center for Land Use Education Management. It's a function of Yukon, but it's funded 80% by the state. And he works with Clear and those guys, and then 20% by grants. Right, so he says it's fully funded. And oh, there it is, right there.
Are they
You
out
can-
of Norwich?
No, he's in stores. Now, he did say he was coming down Avery Point next week because they're reaching out there. Management, they're also into trail usage information, trail markers. But I was more interested in, how to take what we had to another level. And be able to do it on a detailed analysis on a parcel basis. Anywho, so that was good. We got
That's
affirmation
cool.
on that, and maybe there's more to come. If we can accelerate that effort with all that money, I did volunteer. I says, if you need somebody to help in oversight. I said,
How about employee? Yeah.
I was gonna do it for free, but if you want to do it for money, anyway, so we'll see how that works out. Yes,
One thing that, as you mentioned, this 1 meter square thing that's one of the things I'm seeing as Yukon's between the trails people, this project, is that there was supposed to be a overall land inventory that was supposed to be being done by the state, and that has gone nowheresville. I was just wondering if this guy's, did he tone that,
No.
that they're trying to do anything with the
Nope.
whole inventory?
that I would say would be what we talked about earlier of the regional inventory basis. I mean, that's like,
Well, one of the things that's key to the whole thing is getting all these towns on the same
Same-
GIS
yes.
system, and that, I know.
Yeah.
And I know the state is on ArcGIS, Groton is on ArcGIS, but like Ledger and Stonington aren't.
well, as they start to go through this stuff and make it available, that would then kind of make it an incentive for people to get their act together. But you're right, the inventory data, et cetera, has to be accurate, and we have that, and we have a level of accuracy. And the other thing I volunteered says, if you want to have a trial balloon with a town, with a municipality, I would say that Groton is ahead of the curve in speaking for the staff. I said, I'm sure we would be happy to participate in this, given they've got funding, right? So I threw that in there, right? That's there. Okay, so that was, I thought, interesting. What's that?
Chargeable hours.
Chargeable hours. I attended an invasive species talk. I think a number of us did. I attended this conservation summit, did that, and I attended the Thames River Partnership meeting. Oh, wait a minute, that's coming up on the 17th. So I did not attend that yet. That's coming. No, I did do that. That's where I got the GIS clear map project, which led to the first thing. Okay, so I attended that. So that's me. Report of commission. Gonna start on this end.
Actually have something, so
one of our things on the list, I think Oak City was working with the Thames River Heritage Park. We talked on last time about the fact that they're finishing the dock, the Nautilus or whatever. One of my really good friends is an employee, she does some of the trains and docents and stuff. And I guess they have some type of you can do a partnership with the Thames River Heritage Park people. Right?
Okay,
And I don't know if that's something that we'd want to do. They would advertise our stuff, we would, yeah. I don't know exactly what all it entails. I don't know if it's the kind of thing the commission would do. Tom, what do you?
Well, full
You
disclosure here,
don't you?
I am a
he's
docent for the Thames River Heritage.
Yeah, so
Park.
Kim between,
There's, right?
Kim between's my friend,
Right, and Kim's, she's the docent coordinator.
right?
Okay. And at this point, I would not say, I don't envision how we as a commission
Okay.
would
No,
be
that's why I was
moving
curious. Okay.
forward right now. They are very focused on the commercialization
Right.
aspect of the thing. They're going to, to the various locations, Avery Cop House, the Nautilus. There's things in Groton that are participating already. And I just don't, at this point, I could see them having some type of relationship with the Conservation Commission in the city per se, but
Okay.
from the town perspective, we're just not close enough to where their focus areas are, to be honest with you. If they were to try to work something at their, because like the city owns the dock area
Right.
there next to the municipal sewage treatment plant there, that type of stuff. And so they, it'd be logic for them to be working with Groton Utilities and that type
Right.
of stuff. But from us there's really nothing here other than potentially with the Greenway going out of Nautilus is about the only, our closest touch point with them. And so
Yeah, you understand it better than I do. So that's
and
good.
so I would recommend,
This
I
is
don't see an
all
opportunity.
about the boat.
Well,
they're-
they've got their prime things that they're doing right now during the summer is the Thames River taxis,
Safe, right.
okay? But subsequently, they also
They have a lot
have
of
these
programs.
partnerships
Right.
Yeah.
with the different, some of it's with restaurants in New London, some of it is with, like I said, the park and the Nautilus and different organizations that are trying, Lyman Allen Art Museum, they're doing, I'll be docenting at a thing late next week. For them there, okay, so they have different things that they sponsorship and they help the advertising each way. Because the Thames River Heritage Park does get some significant state funding for advertising, okay? And so, if you tie in with us, we'll do mutual things here to help you in your advertising. They had stuff down in Greenwich and on along I-95 and stuff, come out to Mystic and this type of stuff for the Thames River Heritage Park. And you can do online, they have this online booking system for events that are paid, okay, because like that river taxi is one thing that it's $5 to go across the river, but when I'm doing a 90-minute things, people are paying $35 a head to be in the boat with me, okay?
So I guess just keep it on our radar at some point, when
Right.
we have something that we want. Because it's good outreach thing, it's a way to get
It's in our plan.
the
It's
word
in-
out.
It's in the POCD too.
Right,
So.
Right, so
Mhm.
just, anyway, I just
Yeah.
wanted, because I was just talking to Kim and I
Yeah.
thought I'd bring it up, so I was just talking to him.
But
Okay.
I don't see an opportunity at this point, because sometimes they're really looking for us. When you say partner, that means write a check. Okay, also, is an expectation.
warning, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay,
that's it.
all right,
All set.
all right, Dan,
Also,
I just want to thank you guys for attending that talk that Megan gave. I think it was, I thought it was a good talk. It was, I think it was well attended and the audio didn't work, so she gave the talk again on January
She did, yeah.
23rd. She gave it again, and now we've been approached by the Pollinator Pathway, the president of the Pollinator Pathway Group. They want to have it be a part of the series and have it spread out. So it's good.
Well, plus it led to this college project to try to get more native plants.
Yeah, so thank you for helping out with that.
The only thing is, I was supposed to go to a BACWAC meeting last week and I didn't because of my schedule and stuff.
Okay.
So, but I did submit my report and it's really tied right now to it's good to hear that
Project, yeah.
the project, that they're going to be doing something there, hopefully.
We're ready for this. So I attended the BACWAC meeting.
Oh.
Very good report. They gave- being there. So that was the first time I had attended that, and the big part of the conversation was about shellfish, basically an oyster shell recycling program. That they're trying to, in the process of trying to arrange something at the transfer station. For when working with local restaurants to recycle their shell, to be used for culture or restoration projects and
Well,
what.
that'd be cool.
So like you could just drive up and pick it up like you can with.
This is all that, there is a lot missing. So they're still trying to figure out funding and how it would work, and I'm very
Not
used
prime
to,
time yet.
you know, it's not prime
Okay,
time. They're used to, I'm used to the program in Rhode Island, how they do it there, and they're still trying to work out a lot of kinks in terms of, you know, which restaurants, are they interested, how do we pick it up, who picks it up, who's gonna fund it, how are we gonna get it there? Because there's some challenges with, you know, you leave the shell out for about 6 months to allow it to air out and dry out and kill any bacteria and whatnot, and then go from there. But it was an interesting talk, and there'll be more to come on that too. So it is, you know, kind of part and parcel for the conversation on composting and waste management
Yeah.
and all that.
Absolutely.
So it was a good talk, so. And the only other thing I have is, I think, and I hope you have all received this from the town of Groton, tomorrow night, not that you're looking for another night to do something, but if interested, tomorrow night here in the annex, they're having a, I don't know what you call it, workshop vignette on the Claude Chester School. And that Tom had mentioned a little bit before about, some of the ideas they're looking at. for
Yeah,
that.
I
So,
think I have that on my
Who's running it? Is that the
calendar.
town Council or who's in the working group?
well, it's
Yeah.
town staff,
Yeah.
being the economic development, as well as the,
Yep.
Ken Frost, who's
Yep.
the.
Right,
consultant.
yep, in this building.
It's in this building, yeah.
Yep, yeah.
How different is, do you think the presentation tomorrow night's gonna be from that survey that's on the website?
In terms of what they came up with for ideas and stuff,
Right,
I think and I don't know enough because I'm still new. But it sounds like they have, they've really narrowed it down to a bunch of, like, I think about 3 different.
Three, I thought there was three
Yeah.
in the
When I
handout.
talked to the town councilor, Jones, he said that the town council provided feedback, added a 4th.
Oh, okay, I don't know about the 4th. I know about 3.
Because 3 was in the presentation.
Right.
And then the town council sent them away with a 4th after they received the presentation.
What's the fourth?
And I think tomorrow's is really, for the people that didn't want to fill something out online, you can still come and talk in public, and that's what the opportunity is at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it's like
Last call,
More
for
ideas.
input.
Which kind of brings up a point I was planning on doing individually, not as a conservation commission, but should we look at this stuff and take a position as a conservation commission?
I think we should, I mean, it's a significant property right in the center of town and, you know, maybe some portion of it could be. I mean, I don't think we should just let anything happen. We should pay
The
attention.
meeting's tomorrow.
Well, no.
Well, no.
right.
My thought was,
It's
we
early in the
attend the
process.
meetings early in the process, then see the information that they've got. And then do we want to take a position? So it's more of a theory, do we want to take a position? You know, on the disposition of
Well,
this property?
From my viewpoint, it's the town council's already spending money through Parks and Rec to turn this into some type of recreational
Recreational,
thing. And
right.
because they recognize that the Board of Ed is gonna give ownership back to the town. And then the town's gonna have to make a decision what it wants to do this. It's proactively seeking through the Athletic Fields Task Force, through the Parks and Rec Commission, I've already put their claws into this thing, is how I would portray it. So it's really, we didn't get a vote per se, but the flip side of it is going in the preserves side of the world so I'm not that concerned about it. You know what, they're talking about a lot of things in regard to, it's gonna be a recreation facility, which would make sense because it's just an extension of.
Yeah, But for example, if they said, we want to put turf in there, artificial turf as a field. I kind of
Sit
object.
GCA on them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying that there's not, I agree with you, but let's see what they've got and then we can talk about it again after.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah,
hearing what the proposals are,
yep.
keeping an eye on it.
All right, so, maybe that's a Chester
What's
school
gonna be
update.
interesting is there seems to be at least on the website, when you do the survey, they're looking for some sort of interior recreation facility.
Yeah.
And hopefully it might include swimming pool, either more than one or a. And that's been a topic of conversation forever in this town. So I think that's a high priority item. Because there's been a lot of talk about that for years and all sorts of surveys, et cetera. And now they have an opportunity of a space to do it. It's close to everything else. It's already a school site where you traffic patterns and so forth are already.
It's already
set.
parking lot there.
That's
Yeah.
probably going out there.
Right.
And a community that could really benefit from it too.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's right across
the
the street, right?
cost of it was always the stuff.
Well, that kind of goes through my mind. That's cost benefit of that
And
is,
maintaining it.
and maintain is part of the cost.
And what you have is the, cause I saw this where I used to live, is that everybody thinks it's a good idea, but too many people in the community already have their own pool. And those people will vote down any kind of bonding referendum to support it unless the town's gonna pay for it separately, so that these types of
Well, the
things
town-
at
there
this
was-
point don't make it, you know?
There was a lot of support when the town was involved with the oral school swimming pool.
I remember that.
But
came
there was a
up
base infrastructure there.
There,
Yes,
So it was a
Repair job.
that's refurbishing an existing
Yeah.
pool, not
that
doing
would-
one from scratch.
And running
Right.
a pool. you
well,
know,
and
staffing
when
and
they were talking about the project that was gonna go on at the oral school, that mega project, it was gonna include redoing
Right.
the swimming pool and make it available for the public as well as for their own
right.
folks.
Okay,
So it's always been out there.
Okay, don't-
The secretary wants us to,
We're gonna be talking about this more, but this is just the beginning of that.
Yeah,
conversation.
okay, so
That's tomorrow we can talk about it.
I'll put it on the agenda for next month. Meanwhile, we can, participate now, who else will, and we'll get more information. That brings us to the end of the agenda. Any other topics someone wants to bring up?
I move we adjourn.
Other than Michelle.
Hear the motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is it seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, okay. This is pretty good. I thought we'd go to 8, so I think we're ahead of schedule.
And easily could have happened.